Hi, I'm Judi Schwanz. I want to welcome you to this series on Paul's letters to the Thessalonians. Paul wrote these letters to encourage the believers, to commend them, and to teach them how to live together as the body of Christ. Through these lessons, you will see how Paul encouraged, that means give courage to, his readers. In both, he indicated that their reputation had gone throughout the region, and he knew that they were following the example he had tried to set for them. Paul was their role model. Who are your role models? As a young girl, I was blessed to have many women in the church that I saw as role models. In a small church, I was the only girl my age, so I went to a lot of the women's activities with my grandmother. And my mother's best friend, Auntie Rita, became a special person in my life. She was my godmother, and I knew what that meant. We often acknowledged that if anything had ever happened to my parents, Auntie Rita would become my mother, and I would live with her. I watched her in her home. I watched her at church. I watched her care for her ailing father-in-law. And I watched her live in a Jewish neighborhood where she was the only Christian on the block. And I knew I wanted to be like her when I grew up. I had watched my parents' marriage, and in their marriage, I often found myself saying, I'll never talk to my husband the way I hear my mother talk to my father. With Auntie Rita and Uncle Chuck, it was different. I knew I wanted to have that kind of a marriage, and I knew that marriage was possible when I saw their example. She and Uncle Chuck served as host and hostess at my wedding. I was in my 20s when Uncle Chuck died. With young children, I had young children, and I thought, I want to be like her when I grow up, as I watched the way that she handled her grief. She continued to care and to serve in the church. She continued to be involved in her community. I was in my 40s when my mom died. Auntie Rita invited my father and me to come have dinner with her in her apartment. She had just moved into a senior living facility. And as I left dinner that evening with her, I thought again, I want to be like her when I grow up. She epitomized what Paul wrote in his letters. She was a source of encouragement, comfort, living at peace with others, lifting people up, helping the weak, faithful perseverance. The flip side of that coin is that people look to us. To whom am I a role model? I recognize that people are watching me. Do I set an example that other people can follow? If I do, as Auntie Rita modeled for me, I will set a good example. That begins at a very early age. I remember very clearly when my son was in 5th grade, we had this conversation because a little boy, probably kindergarten age, said to his mom, I want to have a haircut just like Jason. I want to be like Jason when I get big. Already, people were looking to him and wanted to be like him. As a teacher, as a parent, and now as a grandparent, I often need to remind myself that other people are watching. And I want to be able to say with Paul, follow me as I follow Christ.